The social crisis in China is worsening, with protests erupting across the country. Millions of Peng Lifa are rising up, and the CCP's greatest fear has begun to materialize. This wave of unrest shaking China. The Chinese Communist Party is confronting challenges at home and abroad.
In China's biggest cities, people are starting to push back hard, shouting for the fall of the Chinese Communist Party and even calling out Xi Jinping by name. Protests have turned violent, with deadly clashes between citizens and police, and even some officials being killed. It's not just anger, it's a tidal wave of frustration spreading across a country that's struggling to stay afloat. Trump's tariffs are crushing China's export economy, with Goldman Sachs estimating 16 million job losses. Workers throughout China are folding the street in revolt as US President Donald Trump's tariffs slam the fragile Chinese export economy. China's unemployment crisis appears to be deepening, according to residents who spoke with the Epoch Times. The country's exporters of consumer goods are reportedly losing orders from the United States, further straining the labor market. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated on April 29th that China could lose up to 10 million jobs if the US-China tariff tensions persist, or around 5 million even if tariffs are slightly reduced.
I've seen some very large numbers over the past few days to show if these numbers stay on, Chinese could lose 10 million jobs very quickly, and even if there is a drop in the tariffs, that they could lose 5 million jobs.
The investment bank estimated that between 10 and 20 million jobs tied to US exports could be at risk. As the pressure builds, many young people in China are expressing deep concern. Some are even brought to tears over the lack of job opportunities and an uncertain future. Here I have the clip of workers protesting layoffs at a pharmaceutical factory, with riot police arriving to suppress the demonstration. Just watch it. Chinese factories are getting wiped out in the trade war. Containers are down by half. Factories are laying off half their workers or shutting down. One local analyst calls it way bigger than COVID-19. And I am not saying this. Here, listen to what industry insiders are saying about this.
So if these temporary furloughs turn into permanent job losses, China will get civil unrest, starting with politically sensitive. These tariffs are a nuclear weapon. No company can survive a 145% tariff for long, and Beijing apparently cannot cover the tab. China is putting a brave face, but it cannot handle a tariff war that's bigger than COVID and goes on for 4 years. Meanwhile, reindustrializing America will take many years, while Trump's got roughly 16 months until the midterm elections. Both sides want a deal. It's a game of chicken who breaks first. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
And this isn't just about politics. China's economy is falling apart. Prices are dropping, young people can't find jobs, massive real estate companies are collapsing, and trust in the government is hitting rock bottom. Take a look at this clip, where a factory worker opens up about her depression. This isn't just a moment, it's a potential turning point for the world. Content like this is often suppressed by Chinese bots. But if you're curious about China's political system and leadership transitions, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Behind these doors, decisions are made that shape the destiny of 1.4 billion people. Yet, one question looms large and unanswered. Who will succeed Xi Jinping? As the world's second-largest economy stands at a crossroads, the battle for China's future unfolds in shadows. Stay with us as we uncover the hidden contenders and the high-stakes game of succession in the heart of Beijing. Since ascending to power in 2012, Xi Jinping, China's most powerful leader since Mao, hasn't indicated who might take over after him. After over 10 years of tightening his grip on power and eliminating political rivals, he faces no real opposition and appears set on staying in control for the foreseeable future. Even in a tightly controlled system like China's, the question of who comes next is always lurking in the background. Now that Xi Jinping is halfway through his third five-year term, and at 71 years old, the issue of succession is becoming more pressing, as we're watching prices fall across the board, young people struggling to find jobs, major real estate companies collapsing, and more people losing faith in the government like never before, causing protesters clashing with police. Some officials have even been killed, and anger is spreading fast across a nation that's buckling under intense economic pressure. It's a breaking point moment, and the cracks are showing and shaking the foundations of China's economy and society, not just inside China but around the world. It's a topic that rarely makes headlines, but it quietly shapes every conversation about where China is headed. And this isn't just a China problem. With over $13 trillion tied up in real estate, the fallout is global. Consumer confidence has tanked, spending is down, and the economy's slowing fast. To make things worse, China's keeping tight-lipped about the real numbers, making it hard for anyone to know just how bad things really are. They were all cashing in, until the whole thing collapsed. Now it's too late. The damage is done. What's crumbling isn't just buildings, it's trust. The foundation of China's economy is cracking, and millions of people are left with shattered dreams. This isn't just another crisis, it's something that could change China's future and the world's. But things aren't exactly going smoothly. The protests, the collapsing economy, the public outrage, it's all adding up. The Chinese government is losing the trust of its people. Will it lead to major change? It's hard to say. But one thing is clear: the cracks are showing, and people are no longer staying silent. Xi Jinping might be the most powerful man in China, but even he's walking a tightrope. He's crushed any real rivals and completely taken over the party. But there's still one problem he can't ignore: what happens after him. As the son of a revolutionary hero, Xi knows that keeping the system stable means showing that there is a plan for the future, a clear line of succession if anything ever happens to him. But here's the catch: if he reveals too much, too soon, he risks looking weak. And in a system like China's, that can be dangerous. Joseph Torigian, a top expert on elite politics in China and Russia, puts it bluntly: succession isn't just important, it's everything. Leaders like Xi obsess over it, because it decides whether they stay safe, whether their legacy survives, and whether the regime itself can keep going. Ever since Mao stood in Tiananmen Square in 1949 and declared the founding of the People's Republic, this has been the party's biggest problem. How do you pass on power without losing it all? But here's where it gets interesting. According to Li Cheng, a leading voice on Chinese politics, Xi might already be laying the groundwork for succession as he eyes a possible fourth term. And the people next in line? They might be hiding in plain sight. Senior officials who seem quiet now, but could reveal their true ambitions at just the right moment. People say Xi Jinping is surrounded by yes men, and honestly, they're not wrong, says Li, a top China expert and head of the Center on Contemporary China and the World. But here's what most people forget: 13 years ago, Xi himself was a yes man too. It's a reminder that in Chinese politics, appearances can be deceiving. Quiet loyalty today can turn into absolute power tomorrow. Since Mao, only 5 other men have ever held both of China's top positions: head of the Communist Party and chair of the Central Military Commission. That list includes big names like Hua Guofeng, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and now Xi Jinping. It's a small, elite group, and every one of them had to play the game carefully before rising to the top. The question now is, who's playing that game behind Xi? And when will they make their move? If Xi Jinping were suddenly forced to step down, say, due to a health crisis, China's political system would be thrown into chaos. On paper, there are rules for who comes next, but in reality, it'd be a power struggle behind closed doors. In that kind of crisis, the real power would shift to the Politburo Standing Committee, the small group of top leaders just below Xi. And that's where things could get interesting. Some analysts think one man in particular could become the kingmaker: Kai Chi. At 69, Kai might not be a household name, but he's no lightweight. He used to run Beijing, he's ranked 5th in the party, and, maybe most importantly, he's one of Xi's most trusted insiders. He's basically Xi's chief of staff, running the general office of the Central Committee, a position that hasn't been this powerful since Mao's days. He's always by Xi's side. At meetings, on state visits, in news reports. He's the guy in the room when things go down. If something happened to Xi, Kai wouldn't just be helping pick the next leader. He might be the one pulling the strings, quiet, loyal, and perfectly positioned, just like Xi was once. While other diplomats and experts spoken to by the FT noted that if Xi was forced to step down unexpectedly, the People's Liberation Army would become pivotal. If China ever faced a sudden leadership vacuum, one man who could play a major role is Zhang Yuxia, Xi's right-hand man in the powerful Central Military Commission. Zhang isn't just some high-ranking officer, he's practically family. His father and Xi's father were old comrades during the Chinese Civil War. That kind of legacy carries serious weight in the halls of power. At 74, Zhang is one of the last true red royalty figures left standing after years of Xi's brutal purges in the military. He's trusted, loyal, and still very much in the game. But even Zhang isn't untouchable. Lately, there's been some political heat around him, whispers of corruption in the military's top ranks. Still, in a crisis, he could be a key player. As expert Thomas puts it, the party commands the gun. But when push comes to shove, any new leader would need the military's blessing. And Zhang, he could be the guy making or breaking that support. If a succession fight breaks out, don't be surprised if Zhang quietly backs a Xi loyalist, someone who'd keep the military out of the spotlight and off the chopping block. In a system where loyalty is everything and secrets are currency, Zhang Yuxia could end up holding more cards than anyone realizes. Trying to figure out who might lead China after Xi Jinping is like reading tea leaves, complicated, vague, and full of guesswork. But scholars and diplomats are watching closely, especially a group of men in their 50s and early 60s who seem to be quietly climbing the ranks. One thing that's hard to miss, there are no women in the mix. At the last party congress, not a single woman made it into the 24-member Politburo. And no woman has ever made it to the Standing Committee, the country's most powerful circle. Experts say it's not just tradition, it's because women are rarely pushed into local leadership roles, which is where most political careers start. No base, no climb. As for the men who might be next in line, two names keep popping up: Yin Li and Chen Wenqing. Yin Li, Beijing's party boss, is 62 and always seems to be where the action is. Then there's Chen Wenqing, 65, a former spy chief who now oversees the legal system, basically the guy with dirt on everyone. Both have worked closely with Xi for years, they show up in state media a lot, and they're allowed to meet with foreign officials. Little things, but in the CCP's world, those are major signs of trust and status. They're not making bold speeches or causing waves, but that's the point. In Xi's China, the most powerful future leaders might be the ones keeping their heads down until the moment comes. Chinese politics isn't just about one man at the top, it's a web of factions all jockeying for influence. You've got Xi Jinping's inner circle of loyalists, the old-school Communist Youth League guys, the Tuan Pai, and a bunch of technocrats who prefer data over drama. Right now, with no clear plan for who comes after Xi, the whole system is sitting on a ticking time bomb. History has shown us what happens when there's a power vacuum. Things get messy, infighting breaks out, decisions stall. Sure, Xi's massive power grab has kept everything tightly controlled in the short term. But in the long run, that kind of centralization can backfire, especially when there's no one obvious lined up to take the reins. And this isn't just China's problem. When the world's second-largest economy shakes, everyone feels it. Whoever comes after Xi won't just shape China's future. They'll influence global markets, foreign policy, and international stability. So the big question isn't if there will be a power struggle, it's when. And when it comes, the ripple effects won't stop at China's borders.